Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me here on Wave Now. We are going live to Frankfort right now. Just a few minutes ago, a rally started at the Capitol Rotunda, Reproductive Freedom Rally with the ACLU of Kentucky, Planned Parenthood, Sister Song, and several other speakers. They've already started, so let's jump in.
If you are pregnant in Kentucky and seeking an abortion, call or text 617-297-7012 for more information about joining a lawsuit to restore access. And if you need that number one more time, 617-297-7012. Everybody write that down. And it is my great privilege and honor to introduce you to a remarkable individual whose work has profoundly impacted the lives of many, especially parents, but people navigating the complexities of perinatal mental health. And I'm going to take a second, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my friend. She is a therapeutic storyteller, a founder, a clinical director, an educator, and an advocate for maternal wellness and reproductive justice. The Kentucky State Coordinator for Sister Song, and I want y'all to stand up now, Dr. Ananicia Williams.
Thank you. Hold on, wait a minute. There we go. Thank you for the love, Jackie. I feel the love in this room, and we need that. We need that love as we continue to go about this journey of getting reproductive justice for Kentuckians. So if you did not know, 2024 marks 30 years of reproductive justice. So can we get a hand clap? If you were not familiar, in 1994, 12 Black women came together and actually coined the phrase of reproductive justice. What they realized was that universal health care should be the center in the work that we do, and so that's how we got reproductive justice. So over the past 30 years, Sister Song has built an intersectional movement around reproductive justice. The human right to maintain personal bodily autonomy, have children, to not have children, and to raise those children in safe and sustainable communities. But what I want you to be mindful in regards to this framework is that we cannot address this issue through a single lens, because we often do not have the privilege of siloing our lived experiences. That is why we fight back against abortion bans and fortify the existing channels to care. We are consciously building back to a loftier goal, past Roe versus Wade. So it's important to also keep in mind, while Roe was put in place, it never fully protected Black women, poor women, and other marginalized women. Roe ensured the right to abortion without ensuring that people could get an abortion. And Black women have been calling this out since Roe went into effect, further proven by measures such as the Hyde Amendment. So we have an opportunity now to build a future that serves us even more than our past did. And we have a tenet in that movement to guide us. It's reproductive justice. Just because Kentuckians do not have access at this time, know that we have a strategy that needs to be put in place that not only combats abortion bans, but addresses all intersecting issues that impact healthcare, bodily autonomy, and our liberation, because it's all related. Woo! So the same politicians that want to disenfranchise Black voters through restriction election laws, gerrymandering, and politicalization of election administration are the ones who actually have passed the abortion bans. We know that our people want the ability to make their healthcare decisions, live in thriving communities, and reform our policing system. Allowing our voices to be heard will help push back against the white supremacist agenda to control our bodies. Woo! But y'all, this work has to happen in community. This is your community. Look around, get familiar with these faces, get these names, because outside of these doors, you have to take this work back to the community. Reproductive justice envisions a future where everyone has the human right to bodily autonomy, and we can live in communities that are safe from police violence, sustainable for future generations, that support a thriving democracy, and with economic stability. So how do we get there? I'm gonna tell you, y'all, you gotta trust Black women. So over a sister song, we encourage all those fighting against white supremacy to trust Black women to lead. Trust us to know the pathway forward, because we have never stopped fighting for our bodily autonomy, and understand that to be fully liberated, we need much more than the legal right to abortion. As we look ahead of the 2024 elections, new attacks on abortion access, the undermining of voting rights, and more that's at stake this year, we are committed to listening to Black women. So, one thing we say at Sister Song is, we all have an RJ story to tell. So I am inviting you in to begin to tell your stories about reproductive justice. Please follow Sister Song on social media platforms. There are so many opportunities where we want to invite you in to begin to tell your story. We are building base and community, and until we get access, we are going to take care of each other.
Hi, everybody. My name is Heather Ayer. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the campaign coordinator at the ACLU of Kentucky. Let's give one more big round of applause to Dr. Ananicia Williams. Dr. Williams stated that we really have to dig into our communities and organize our own communities, and our next speaker is doing just that, and I'm so honored that I get to introduce her. Her name is Danielle Kirk. She's She's a mom, she's an advocate, and she's an organizer. She's from Eastern Kentucky. She does this work for Eastern Kentucky. And as we know, even when we had legal access to abortion in the state of Kentucky, it was completely out of reach for a lot of communities, not just communities that were far away from Louisville where the two clinics were, but for communities of color, for impoverished communities, and for a lot of communities across Kentucky. We have a healthcare desert here in Kentucky, and Danielle is working to fix that. So I am so proud to introduce Danielle Kirk.
So, like she said, my name is Danielle Kirk. I am from Eastern Kentucky, if my accent doesn't give that away. I came here today to give a voice to all the women and little girls who come from my corner of this beautiful state, to inspire them to raise their voices and demand the right to determine their own futures, not to allow our legislators sit up here and make laws that affect people that live lives that they will never live and affect people that they have never met. Frankfort is so far and out of reach for many people across this state, including myself. I was actually almost late getting here today because I had to drop my kids off from school and get here. It took over 3 hours. But I came here the first time a couple weeks ago, and I felt this imposter syndrome, like I don't belong here. I'm so out of touch with the people that work here. But you know, I belong here just as much as these legislators that sit up here and claim to be pro-life. And they failed year after year to address the dire situations across this state, from housing to food insecurity to the most basic human rights such as clean water. I've never been able to meet with my own state representative, and I find that very ironic given the fact that he's decided he knows what's best for me and my daughters and the thousands of women in House District 97. Woo! Barriers to abortion access profoundly affect communities that already face social inequities, and I came here today so that he could put a face to just one of the women in our region that was forced to claw their way out of a failing foster care system and generational poverty that they failed to address. I can only hope and pray that when they sit up here and think about the egregious consequences of the laws that they sit here and pass, like banning abortion, that they think of the lives of those affected, that they are truly in support of an equitable life. If people are forced to be pregnant and give birth in this state, they need to be sure to pass laws that expand Medicaid, that provide health care to millions of people living across this state. They need to expand access to food stamps that feed over 200,000 living children in Kentucky. They need to fully fund public education because education is one of the most fundamental ways to combat poverty. We need laws that support paid paternal leave, and as someone coming from Martin County, they need to fund clean water projects. Babies that they claim to love and care so much about deserve this much. I've given much of my life fighting for the people of Eastern Kentucky because we deserve a home and a future that gives us hope and the right to make difficult decisions for ourselves. For far too long, we have allowed others to decide what is best for us. But I think these people up here who make and pass these laws and have taken away our choice must have forgot you don't mess with Appalachian women.
Well, I know one legislator listening very well to Danielle Kirk, and it is my honor to bring up Representative Lindsey Burke, who has filed a suite of bills to combat the onerous legislation that is impacting the Kentuckians who are having to deal with abortion bans across the Commonwealth. Give it up for Representative Lindsey Burke.
Thank you, Tamari. And can we give one more big round of applause for Danielle? Like, seriously. I'm State Representative Lindsey Burke, and I tell you, this is what a loving community looks like. Thank you for being here today to stand up for women. Thank you for being here today to stand up for our future. Thank you for being here to stand up today for justice, because this is a justice issue. 2 weeks ago, I stood in front of a room full of cameras and told my very private and very painful abortion story. I'm the only legislator here who's told one. And I tell you what, we shouldn't all have to tell our stories for us to be heard. I think it's a real shame that we're putting this on the back of vulnerable people and saying, you have to perform your pain for us so we will hear you. But that's what's happening right here in Frankfort. We're demanding people perform their pain in order for them to have basic access to health care. And reproductive justice is about health care. It's about the right to access a doctor when you need them. It's the right to have children in a community that's safe, loving, and full of resources. And until we're providing those things on the back end, we have no right to demand someone to perform pregnancy on the front end. I'm very grateful to be a mother, but it is hard work. And it's not something that came easy for me, and it's not something that comes easy for many people. And that's why I have filed 3 bills for all of us to rally behind. The first is House Bill 428. That is the North Star bill. House Bill 428, the North Star bill, rolls us back to how it used to be. When you needed access to abortion, you could at least hopefully make it to a clinic in Louisville, or your doctor might help you in Lexington. The truth is, that was never enough, but now we don't have that anymore. So we need it back, and we need it back now. I also filed House Bill 429, the SHIELD bill. So while we have no access to abortion in Kentucky, people who seek care outside of the state shouldn't have to live in fear that someone like Daniel Cameron is going to run to the court and subpoena their medical records to prosecute them. Now, that needs to be true for abortion care and reproductive justice, but that also needs to be true for every type of medical care that's legal elsewhere. If you're a person who needs care for gender dysphoria, if you're a person who wants to go receive that type of care, you need to be free to do it. It's time for us to stop living in fear, and House Bill 429, the SHIELD bill, eliminates some of that fear. Last but not least, as I talked about before, we need that community on the back end, and that's why I filed House Bill 430, the HANDS bill. The HANDS bill creates a new provision in the HANDS program for women and families on Medicaid, so that if they choose to have a HANDS provider come and provide services to their family after a baby is born, that service will now include information about postpartum anxiety and postpartum depression, because we know that pregnancy can be killer, but so can motherhood. And it's about time we start recognizing the things that are making it hard for parents and doing something about it. This is a very easy way that we can improve the health of mothers and parents, and it's about time we start doing it. Thank you all so much. Thank you, survivors and advocates. Thank you for coming here today to stand up for reproductive justice, access to abortion care, and all the people around Kentucky who need it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Representative Burke. And everyone, every Kentuckian needs every Kentuckian needs access to abortion. And thank you all so much for showing up here today. Again, when I look around at the crowd and see everyone here, I see Oliver from KHJN right over here. I see Mason from Hood to the Hollow. I see Keisha Bryant from Blackbird Justice. In our forced pregnancy state, we know that pregnancy and childbirth can be 3 to 4 times more dangerous for Black Kentuckians. I am honored to introduce our next speaker, Morgan Rumpel-White, who will share her story about why access to comprehensive reproductive health care is imperative for all Kentuckians.
Racism killed my son. My name is Morgan. In September of 2021, my husband Michael and I found out we were having our first baby. We planned to grow our family. We even met a doula before we started trying. We planned so that we could have the best outcome possible for our baby. We knew that as a Black couple, we were already at a disadvantage. The healthcare system doesn't treat us as whole people. We planned for our labor. We planned for the way we wanted to birth our baby. We wanted access to a birthing center, but Kentucky doesn't have any. We did manage to find one of the only Black doulas in the state and one of the only Black midwives in the state. We did everything we could. We did everything right. But in America, and especially in Kentucky, being Black is a deadly pre-existing condition. My pregnancy was uneventful. I had some high blood pressure and some heartburn, but nothing out of the ordinary. At 39 weeks, my care team decided that due to some elevated blood pressure, I would be induced on June 7th. So we planned for that too. We packed our bags and we shared those feelings of excitement and being nervous that we were going to bring home our baby. But on June 7th, there wasn't a bed for me. They told me, just keep checking your blood pressure. And if it gets too high, go to the emergency room. What if I didn't have access to a blood pressure cuff? And no one told me what too high meant. So we waited. On June 8th, there still wasn't a bed for me. On June 9th, there still wasn't a bed for me. Finally, on June 10th, they admitted me to the hospital. I had some high blood pressure, and I wanted to know what are the risks for my baby. They told me infection was my primary risk, so I asked for antibiotics. They told me it wasn't necessary. I said, what's the harm? They said there is no risk. It's just not necessary. Now I know how to advocate for myself, and I am not a meek person, so I asked for antibiotics two more times, and I was denied. The nurse responsible for hooking me to the Doppler the late evening of June 11th, couldn't get the machine to work properly. She struggled. For over an hour, we heard nothing, no heartbeat. Finally, when they took me to a delivery room for emergency C-section, they left my husband behind and communicated nothing with him for over an hour. I was worried about losing my son, and he was worried about losing us both. And on June 12th, at 12:04 a.m., at 41 weeks, our beautiful baby boy, Bishop Lee Whiting, was dead. The cause of death was infection. For Black people in Kentucky, choosing to have a child or not have a child is not accessible or equitable. Black people are treated differently by the healthcare system. I know this from personal experience, and I know it from what years of data tells me. I was treated differently because I was Black. I should have been provided a bed immediately if there was a risk to my baby. The hospital admitted that after minutes without a fetal heartbeat, someone should have taken action. And they admitted that no information from my case should have been shared outside of the people in that room without my consent, but they did so anyway. Black families and our allies must demand change. We need open and honest dialogue about racism in healthcare. We need access to Black doulas and Black midwives who understand our unique experiences and our unique needs. We need access to birthing centers so that we can be cared for, respected, and safe. No one should be in fear for their lives or their babies' lives because of the color of their skin. Stand in solidarity with me today. Stand with Black parents and lost Black babies. Stand so that everyone has the right to make a decision for their own body. Stand so that we all have access to comprehensive reproductive health care. Stand with Bishop. Thank you.
Morgan, thank you for telling your RJ story. And from another Black woman, I trust you and your story. So when I envision the future of reproductive justice, I see this youthful leader leading. I have been fortunate to watch this individual activate community on the University of Louisville campus. And I just want you all to meet this individual. So without further ado, meet Carly Reeves.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carly Reeves. I am president for CARDS Reproductive Freedom at the University of Louisville. Coming into this space today, can you hear me now? Okay. Coming into this space today and having on my heart many days is Breonna Taylor and her life. On this 13th day of February, Black History Month, the anniversary of her death looming just 1 month away, I think about a post she tweeted. On December 25th, 2019, 3 months before her life was stolen, brutally and forcefully by LMPD, the Louisville Metro Police Department, she posted, "I hope next Christmas I have a kid so I can be excited about today like y'all." She will never realize that dream. Reproductive justice is about more than the access to an abortion. It's about the freedom to choose to be a parent and the freedom not to. It's about the inherent right to raise children in safe and healthy environments, free from the threat of police brutality and violence. It's about having complete and total control over your body, your decisions, and the way that your life and the life of your children, if you so choose, should go. And at its core, it's about your authority to wait until the world matches however you envision that life should be. I don't know about y'all, but I am exhausted that we continue to have the same conversations. My enslaved maternal ancestors fought and died for their bodily autonomy. Our bodies were and continue to be used and weaponized by cis white men who don't know what it's like to bear children, to menstruate, or for their bodies and their rights to autonomy to be used as tools to oppress themselves. Politicians continuously use us and our bodies as a political platform, but I will no longer accept this disgusting treatment, and neither should y'all. It is past time that we rise up, all of us, and take our power back. Our bodies belong to us and us alone. On this 48th Black History Month, I am privileged to stand on the shoulders of powerful and legendary Black female activists, leaders, and ancestors who fought this fight before me. I am proud to be rebellious like Margaret Garner, honored to be activated like Angela Davis, compassionate like Bell Hooks, educated like Dr. Kayla Story, beautiful like Beyonce, and thick like Meg Thee Stallion. And as I close today, I call you to be loud like the powerful Assata Shakur, and I invite you to participate in her revolutionary call and response with me. I challenge you to be loud enough that the senators hiding in their offices cannot ignore us as you repeat after me. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love and protect one another. We have nothing to lose but our chains. So we're gonna have to get a little bit louder now. Y'all ready? All right. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love and protect one another. We have nothing to lose but our chains. Okay, this is our last time. You gotta make the most of it. You gotta be loud, okay? Okay. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love and protect one another. We have nothing to lose but our chains. Thank you.
Do you know what is very popular and regularly polls at 86%? Sex education. Our next two speakers are going to tell you a little bit about sex education and what it means to them. I am so excited to bring up Janelle and Addison. Give them a big round of applause. All right, close to the mic. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Janelle. I'm 18 years old and a Kentuckian. 30 years of reproductive justice, and yet we have no justice for our health, especially comprehensive sex education. My 9th grade health teacher decided to skip the sex ed unit so we could move on to teaching gym. And I'm sure he didn't think twice about it. You might think our parents were still giving us all the information we needed, but mine hadn't. My talk left me with more questions than answers. And all I had learned was what my friends in middle school thought that they knew. I received no kind of proper, inclusive, or accurate sex education. I was clueless and highly vulnerable to misinformation. I knew I was missing something important, but I had no knowledge of what I needed and no resources to find it. How was I supposed to learn to navigate this aspect of my life if no one had taken the time to prepare me? When I first joined Teen Council, a peer-led sex education program, I was astounded to discover all the vital information that no one had told me about. Learning about topics like consent, healthy relationships, and STIs gave me a better understanding of my mind, my body, and the choices I could make. At last, I felt like I understood how my body worked, and I felt empowered to make decisions about my health. But this empowerment came with anger. As I worked to spread this crucial information throughout my community, I found that many of my peers were just as clueless as I was. Even those who had received sex ed from my school didn't know how to prevent and respond to STIs, use barrier methods such as condoms, or even what consent is. And if they didn't learn this in school, when were they supposed to? Is this how we want to leave our youth, misinformed and confused? Despite the already desolate state of sex education in Kentucky, it is facing further attacks from our legislators. At a time like this, it is crucial to speak on the importance of teaching sex ed, and it is vital that we let our legislators know they are doing a disservice to the young people of Kentucky. A right to an accurate sex education should not be a political opinion. Everyone deserves to know how their body works, how to navigate the relationships, how to protect their health. And I urge you to keep fighting to ensure that every single person is granted this. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Addison. I'm a 16-year-old and I am a Kentuckian. It was in second grade when my friend first came up to me and asked if I knew what sex was. My innocent mind didn't think twice about it, to which I answered no, and I got an answer I wasn't ready for with details about the human body that I didn't know existed or the accurate names of. Ever since that day in elementary school, I had wanted to know more about sex, but I was too embarrassed to ask because of awkward answers that I would be met with, whether that be from peers or adults. When my parents did eventually attempt to have the talk with me, I was faced with questions rather than information. This ultimately led me to seek information from those around me who were just as uneducated as I was. As I aged and became more confident, I realized that those around me lacked sex education just like I had. This encouraged me to become more involved in my community and changing the narrative around sex education. When I found the opportunity to work with Teen Council, I jumped at the opportunity to be a resource for others. By being involved in this program, I'm exposed to comprehensive, inclusive, and accurate sex education, allowing me to be an outlet for others. In turn, those around me, including myself, are confident to make decisions regarding their body and relationships, paving the way for healthy lives. Because every person, no matter their age, race, or political affiliation, deserves access to sex education. If you want to infringe upon our bodily autonomy and decision-making, you have to make comprehensive and accurate sex education accessible. Bills like HB 9 and SB 93 and HB 174 only set back Kentucky's progress in making the state better for new generations like me.
Okay, we're gonna do a little chant. When I say, what do we want? You're gonna say, sex ed. And when I say, when do we want it? You're gonna say, now. What do we want? Sex ed. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Sex ed. When do we want it? Now. Thank you.
What an exciting day. What an exciting day. Last shout out, Breaking Barriers Council. Where y'all at? Where y'all at? Closing us out, we have a dear friend of mine, a colleague I've worked closely with over the past few years, and she needs no introduction. Tamari Weeder.
Thank you, Jackie. Oh, what a great day. It's great to be in community with everyone. And lobby day, it's no better day than to see everybody come out and advocate for reproductive rights. Give yourself. Thank you. Well, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Tamara Weeder, she, her pronouns, and I'm the Kentucky State Director for Planned Parenthood Alliance Advocates. Every Kentuckian should be able to access abortion care regardless of their reason, financial status, or location. Sadly, we know this is not our reality. In pursuit of anti-abortion policies, Kentucky legislators have become the architects of intentional suffering, while repeatedly turning a blind eye to the very real maternal health crisis in this state. The result becomes clear when we witness the denial of care to rape survivors and cancer patients, actions that were not unforeseen, but were instead planned. They were planned by the creators and supporters of these anti-abortion policies. The cruelties of these conditions are getting more and more difficult for the extremists to deny. 65,000 rape-related pregnancies have occurred in anti-abortion states since Roe was reversed, with as many as 3,000 here in the Commonwealth. Let that sink in. Kentucky has the third most pregnancies resulting from rape in the nation among states without abortion exemptions for rape survivors. Yeah, boo that. Surviving the brutality of rape is hard enough. Being forced to remain pregnant after is profoundly wicked. Kentuckians are living with the consequences of these bans every day. Today, we know abortion is banned in all cases across the state, 0 exceptions for the life of the pregnant person, even if that exception is placing Kentuckians in danger. In fact, giving birth is more dangerous than nearly every job in the United States, and it's 3 times more dangerous for Black women. In Kentucky, more than 1 million people who can get pregnant are currently of reproductive age and therefore could potentially need an abortion. If you happen to be one of these people and become pregnant, statistics reveal a stark reality that bringing a child into the world poses greater risks than some of the most dangerous positions you could find yourself in. If you compare the mortality rate of police officers and maternal mortality rate for Black women, a police officer would need to spend 3 years and 7 months in the field to face the risk equivalent to that of a Black woman giving birth to 1 child. 1 child. Even soldiers on duty would have to spend 53 years and 8 months on deployment to reach that same level of risk. That is unacceptable. We have witnessed the effects that these racist and discriminatory restrictions have on our communities, especially rural communities, people with low incomes, people with disabilities, Black, Latino, Indigenous communities, member of the LGBTQ+ communities, and so many others. Abortion bans make pregnancy less safe, period. Carrying a pregnancy to term is 33 times riskier for the pregnant person than having an abortion. One would think that if becoming pregnant is so risky, shouldn't it at very least be voluntary? All right, a warning to Kentuckians as legislative agendas unfold. Don't be deceived. Bills proposed by the same people who created the conditions currently exacerbating negative maternal health outcomes today don't have realistic solutions to support pregnant people and families for